Born Ellyshia Walker, now Ellyshia Thompson. My love, Raphael Thompson Sr., and I have been married for 7 years. I'm a bonus mom to two amazing children. I'm an active member of my sorority and have over 15 years of education experience. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, and I received my master's of arts in teaching degree with a concentration in mathematics. I love working with my kids in and outside of the classroom. I'm not an educator by choice, but by design. Pre-COVID life, you would have found me hosting events, ballroom dancing, and living my life to the fullest. Life is too short, so I'm trying to make the most of it in my short time. I am Ellyshia Thompson. Hi, Ellyshia. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, so today we're going to talk all about sex and sexuality and sex education and what you learned about it. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask questions. Feel free to, open the dialogue as much as you like to. So here we go. Ellyshia, how did you learn about sex?
Man, that's crazy. Off the top of my head, I don't think anyone actually formally taught me anything about sex. I think that it was more so watching TV and whatever I overheard my friends or people who were active talk about. I'll never think nobody had that birds and bees conversation with me. I
Mm,
remember, when you used to be in high school taking that purity test, they used to give it out, and there would be questions on the purity test like masturbation and things like that. And I never knew what that stuff was, and I would be so afraid to ask. And you couldn't Google stuff, like that back in the day. So I kind of learned that stuff a little late in life.
mm-hmm. What do you think about the lessons that you did pick up, like when people were gabbing and talking about it? What do you think about what you did receive?
What do I think about what I did receive? I don't know. I guess at a younger age, I picked up it was a way that, I showed affection towards someone or intimacy on a deeper level or things like that. I can't say that I was necessarily pressured into it when I actually did begin engaging in activities, but I don't know. I just felt like it just kind of happened organically or naturally. Is that what you're asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think were the big questions that you would have wanted to ask?
Boy. Uh I needed a lesson one on one. How do I know he doing it right? How do I know he's putting on a condom right? How
Mm,
do I know, all these what if this or what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just lay here? Am I supposed to actively engage? I didn't know I didn't know nothing. So I
mm,
didn't know anything. I guess it was, I don't know, maybe some people would beg to differ that, it's something that you learn naturally versus someone coaching you through it. But I could definitely tell you I was awkward in that place in life for a while. I never knew if I was doing what was right or wrong. And I know that sounds awkward. I never said that out loud.
But I mean, I think it's a very real thing that many of us face, right? Well, what do we do? Because nobody tells us how to have sex. Do you think, even though you weren't talked to about pleasure or sex or sexuality, do you think you were given any negative messages?
Uh Absolutely. I mean, like I guess I kind of was taught to believe that that was my role as a woman. And I don't know, I don't think someone necessarily just said, "Hey, Ellyshia, this is your role." But I think I just picked up that, message along the way, like, this is something that you have to do, pretend like you enjoy it all the time. Things like that. So those are things or subliminal messages that I guess, and maybe I developed those messages myself, but they came from somewhere. Someone put those in my head. So
Yeah. What about pregnancy? Was that ever a topic? I know growing up for us, it was just don't get pregnant. Was that ever a piece of your conversation?
So I think more so now that you talk about it, it was more so a religious aspect for me. I feel like I've learned in church, not to have sex before marriage or, that was a sin or things like that. But somewhere along the way, I did learn about childhood pregnancy, but I was actively involved in like lots of activities. And, when I was younger, I did a lot of babysitting of my cousin who was a teenage mom. I babysat her children. And I feel like my grandmother probably at some point was like, this is not easy. You see your cousin is struggling. You see this, you don't want it. So more so like a scare tactic or, something like that. Never what birth control was, or this is how you protect this, or nothing like that. Nothing formal, just, probably little hidden messages here and there.
What do you think impacted your sexual growth throughout the years? Like, what was the biggest thing that you recall that had the most impact?
Ooh. Well, I get to be honest, it's sad to say, but I guess not until marriage, I was married, and I guess for the first time in my life, you explore people and your sexuality different. You're comfortable with that person. You're willing to, engage or try new things. And it might not be new to everybody else because I was a little late to the party, but it was new for me, or, just finding ways, and you develop a desire to want to see that person happy, or and it goes both ways. So I guess it's a trust thing, and that's when I was more so willing to explore. Now I did dibble and dabble a little bit before a marriage with people invited me to toy parties and things like that. And I found out about my little CL a little late in life, but that's that's it now. I know what I like. And so learning how to communicate that is the best part of the intimacy, because you just assume, telling someone what you like. You can't just assume they know how to please you, or they can go off your energy or something like that. So actually telling someone, hey, I like this. Ooh, yeah, right there. Right there. That type of stuff. That's it.
Well, I think it takes a lot to build sexual confidence, no matter how long you've been having sex, to have that breath and that voice to say, I like it, I don't like it, do it differently. Right. A lot of women don't gain that. But tell me more about what it means to learn about your body, especially your vulva, the parts, what they do, what they're designed for later in life versus what you thought you could have gained from learning it earlier in life.
I guess, learning things out of when you're in the middle of something, I guess, or you're having a climax or something. If you've never had that feeling before or knew that was going to occur, your body's going through a reaction that you're not familiar with. You know what I'm saying? You can be ashamed. You know what I'm saying? You could be, confused or not knowing. Girl, I didn't know if I was about to go to the restroom or, what was about to happen. I know that sounds funny when I say it out loud, but, that's what I was going through. And I wish that, I guess nobody's gonna say, Ellyshia, so you're gonna have sex, you're gonna lay down, it's gonna get real warm, and then you're just gonna explode. I don't think anybody's gonna directly just tell me that, but I guess, learning the foundations or what to expect. The funny thing is I just watched that that movie like Bridgerton or something. And minus all the detailed scenes, what she said, like, I wonder, I don't want to ever do that to my child. Send them out in the world, not knowing what to expect, blindfolded, not knowing what I'm supposed to do or how to feel. And I don't need a blueprint, but some basic foundations, but exploring myself and learning, different parts of my body. I guess that's what makes it enjoyable. That's what makes it worthwhile, or, that's the only way I can communicate to my spouse what I need, if I was able to explore and, see what I liked and didn't like.
How do you think you have that conversation with a child, and when do you start talking about it? Because kids, you and I have talked about this, kids are exploring at young ages. We all kind of get curious. So when do you start talking about, here's what you look for, here's what you do, here's what safety is, here's when you choose and when you don't choose?
So I think, and that's a good question. So I'm an educator. So I've been around kids for over 15 years, and in education for over 15 years. And it's never too late. You know, you might not tell them everything when they're 2 or 3 or 4, but people be walking around like, this is my nana, this is my pee-pee, this is my this. Like, dude, this is your vagina, this is your penis, or whatever you want to call it. This is your private part. You have to be very specific. It's sad, but I remember a little girl when I first started teaching who was, you know, being assaulted, and not to change the subject, but no one knew that she was being assaulted because the name that she called it. She would, you know, she called it something special, and that was the only thing. And so I remember that at an early age when I first got into education. And, you know, little boys go through changes, little girls go through changes. You know, I remember you might go through something where you put the hot water from the shower too on your thing and it might feel good and you confused. So I think you need to talk to these things earlier in life about it. It doesn't have to be that much in detail, because trust and believe, if you're not talking to your children at an early age, they're hearing it from somebody else, or, you know, it's coming along. You know, I remember, it's sad, but I remember a young boy trying to have sex with me when I was in like 6th grade, or, you know, approaching me like, hey, I got this condom. We could just go in the backyard and, you know, doing this. Now, my parents hadn't taught me anything about that, but I just had enough common sense, I guess, in all sense, no, it's not common, but at the time to know that that's not what I should be engaging in. Talk to your kids. Tell them that people will pressure them. Tell them everything that they see on TV is not necessarily reality, but it's up to you to show them what the reality is. Other than that, you know, kids have phones at 7 and 8. They can look up everything. You can be Googling, what is that game everybody play? Minecraft, and then a inappropriate video come up from Minecraft. The kids are being exposed to these things, and no matter how many parental controls you put on their devices or what you do, they're gonna see this somewhere in life. You know, these things happen. You have to stop restricting what we teach our kids and have these conversations early, and especially at an earlier age too, with their choice, you know, their choices in sexuality and things like that, gender roles and things like that. Every parent, not my baby, not this. These kids are exposed to so much more at an earlier age than you could ever believe. If I could tell you some of the stats that, you know, kids were doing, or some of the experience I've had as an educator teaching in a middle school setting and a high school setting, you'll be very surprised. Kids are, oh, they're aware of themselves and they're curious.
Well, I think what people forget is how curious or aware they were too. And they forget what was happening. And so then we assume that our kids are some kind of these wonderful angels that were given to us and their blessings, and they are.
Not my babies.
Yeah. Yeah, not my baby syndrome. So, as a woman over 30, how do you think women find their sexual confidence after 30?
How will we get our sexual confidence? I mean, the best thing I go through these things with my body and my insecurities and things I've gone through over the years. And I guess I had to find a place where I had to, you know, love myself or operate in a way that I was comfortable. And that was the best part about it. You know, it's things that I was not comfortable doing, you know, in sex, or, you know, doing certain things at certain times or points or periods. And I just had to learn what I was and what I liked, and I had to communicate it. Because when you're not communicating, you're not building your confidence. You know, it's you hiding behind it, or you defensive, or, you know, you doing things you're not happy with. How can you be confident if you're, you know, in constant opposition, you know, or opposing forces with whoever you choose to be with? So I say that's it. Explore, find things you like, try things. You know, you can't. I don't want to say you can't say you don't like something if you never tried. I mean, I'm not trying to die, but I'm sure I don't like it. You know, things like that. But it's okay to explore different things. I mean, it might be you watching TV and something you saw, you know, turned you on. You know, oh, let me put that in my note to self. Let me write that down and try that, you know, later. Or it could just be um, you went to a store, a Cirilla's or something like that, a fantasy store, or and you saw something and you tried it. It could be a game, it could be anything, but trying to see, you know, what makes you happy and pleases you. I guess it's important. And it's just no guess about it. It's important, girl. It's important. Yeah.
Do you think As a Black woman, sex is different for you in terms of how you learn about it or how you go about it or how you choose to express yourself?
That question is two-part for me. I'm writing myself a note for me. Um, my first thing is that I do think, and I don't think it has nothing to do with being Black. I think it's more so with socioeconomic status and the resources or what's aware in our communities and what's prevalent. And I just think that we don't have the right programs and resources to properly educate the youth, the children in a healthy manner, and start this discussion. People are protective and they want to be the only ones to teach their children, and at some point they just miss it, and sometimes they don't teach them at all. And that's one part. And the second part is they have to endure some things with sex and adjustments and things because of feminine health concerns, and that is definitely something that until I could speak up, people are ashamed of things like that, I mean, I don't care. I suffer from endometriosis and something called polycystic ovary syndrome. And the change in my needs from when I was 7, 8 years ago to, now, drastic change, and if there's no way that I can have a healthy sexual relationship with my spouse if I don't communicate these things. But here's the thing. I wasn't communicating at first. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. Oh, I can't say this hurt here. I can't do this. Oh, I'm sleepy. Oh, just things like that and beating around the bush and things. And I think society in a way, and it's my fault too for listening or just listening, has, brainwashed me to believe that you can't share that, or you're less woman if you can't do this, or you're less of this if you can't do that. And, you shy away from those conversations. But the thing is, when I start having those conversations, it got better. You know what I'm saying? Things mellowed out and they got better. And I never could have imagined that. And it might not be, what works for the person down the street's relationship, but it was working for mine. So that's what you have to be honest with about yourself and be able to communicate.
I think you make a big point in what it means to be a woman and what it means to be able to embody what's happening to you from resources down to health and medical, and how that impacts how we make decisions about how we communicate about sex with our partners. So talk a little bit more about, because a lot of people, like you said, they don't talk about endometriosis, they don't talk about PCOS, and yet a lot of people are suffering from that and it impacts them. Educate us, tell us a little bit more about what that looks like from your perspective.
So my perspective, I always knew something was kind of not right when I was younger because, young ladies had cycles every month. Yeah, I didn't. I had them maybe 2, 3 times a year. And it was at a point that when I did have them, it would be like, oh, real, like a lot of pain. And I think that was more so the polycystic ovary syndromes. I had these episodes where I would have these episodes and I never realized what they were until I got older, that I would have these like extreme cramps and bloated in my stomach, and something was going on. Like if I felt like I was like something ruptured in me or something like that. And later on in life, I would find out that I would have these cysts and that they would bust. And later on in life, I developed endometriosis. What does that look like for me? Girl, it can be a lot. I mean, painful intercourse is definitely one of them. I go through things where, and it's not all the time, it can just be if I'm tense, if I'm not relaxed, I can't have sex at all. About it changed the way you use the restroom. I had to plan my days where I had to get up about. It can affect your bowel, and go in there and eat it up. Things like that. Have adhesions and stuff like that. So it would be painful to go to the restroom, and I would literally have to get up and prepare at least an hour of time so that I could make sure I could go to the restroom before I went to work. And I would have to get up. I drink a bottle of water every morning. I get up. I was really insecure about it. It affects your ability to conceive and have children if it's not caught in early stages. But a lot of times when you're going through these changes, you're so embarrassed or that you don't speak out or speak up or advocate for yourself. So I would say to any young lady, if you're, if you're having cycles and they're like really, really painful, that's not normal. I don't know why no one looked into that for me at an early age, but I was taking 3 days, 4 days off from school from an early age. Whenever I had a cycle, they weren't often, I would not go to school. When I had FMLA when I went to work for my cycles. So it was okay because they weren't monthly, but no one ever told me, girl, that's not normal. You should talk to your doctor about that. No one ever said, I just went through life, and it wasn't until I'm trying to have children and I'm trying to talk to my doctor about my options. I was on birth control. She was like, baby, you should get off of that. I'm going to send you to a specialist. I'm like, why you send me to a specialist? I'm about to have sex on Monday. And then 2 weeks later, I'm going to take this pregnancy test. And I'm about to have this be back, which I'm about to be pregnant. You know what I'm saying? So no one ever taught me that. No one ever taught me to notice, to care. That's not normal. And no one is telling me, Ellyshia, take your butt to the doctor and figure out why your periods are not normal. I don't remember a parent taking me, and it's not their fault either. They probably didn't have the knowledge to deal with it either, the wisdom to deal with it either. But go to the doctor and see why that's not cycle. Make sure you don't have any underlying health issues early, because I'm sure if you look at these things and address them early, you can they can preventative measures can be taken. Mm-hmm. So those are just some of the things that I deal with now. I still deal with painful cycles when they come. I have to call the doctor to tell them, hey, I haven't had my cycle in a while, to take pills to make sure I produce. I have to see a fertility specialist, if I want to have children. Those are all the things that come with it. And you don't want to get me started about Detroit and Michigan not being a women's health state, but that's a whole nother topic. But back to your scheduled program, girl. What's next? What are we talking about next?
No, but I appreciate that information. One of the big things that I hear from women who struggle with some of these things is that it creates depression or sadness, low self-esteem, insecurity, kind of what you were describing. How do you think you've overcome that? Like, what would you say?
Girl, I went through the hugest storm in my life and I was depressed. I mean, wanted to cry every day, type depressed. Don't want to talk to anybody. But when you raise, I'm an independent Black woman. I don't need nobody. I'm going to do this. I'm the big bad woman on campus. And I saw a person that I wasn't happy with. I was delicate. And I'm very, I don't want to say I'm hard, but and I was, I grew up. I'm resilient. I bounced back from so much. I wasn't bouncing back from this depression. When I was younger, I don't have good family dynamic relationships sometimes. So I never desired at first to have children or anything like that. But then, when I got into a healthy relationship and a marriage and I, had that ability, I wanted to, just shoot in there and just start, to have my family. And when it wasn't working out for me, people will have you believing that you're not a woman if you don't have a child or you're not woman enough. And everybody, I didn't learn this till late in life, but people will be like, well, when you gonna have a baby? Your clock ticking, and when you gonna have this? And every time I talk to somebody, like, hey girl, I ain't talked to you in a while. You ain't got no kids yet? Hey girl, when you gonna have some kids? Hey, this. And it was just like over and over. It's like someone ripping off a Band-Aid and then digging a hole back, ripping off the Band-Aid again. It just was happening over and over. And then, other life things, death and things happening in your life. I was depressed. I had to go to counseling and I had to find a counselor who specialized in all areas, like someone who could talk to me about grief and death. And so the thing is, people think grief and death is only when someone passes away. You can have grief from losing a child. You can have grief from the ability not to have a child. There's all types of grief. Grief is, what is grief? You know what I'm saying? Just look up the definition of grief. What do people think grief is? And you're sad about losing something. Well, I lost my ability to choose and to have a baby when I wanted to. I lost my ability to just lay down naturally with my husband and have sex, and every 2 weeks go take a test and be like, baby, it's this. I lost that ability. So I was grieving. How dare somebody take that from me? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? Is it my fault? What did I not do right? I ate healthy. Did I have unprotected sex and this happened to me? Is this an STD? Is this like a disease I get from having sex? I had so many questions. So research, there's a lot of support groups out there and just doing research. In it, it's the PCOS. If I didn't say, it's called polycystic ovary syndrome, and it's very common in a lot of people actually. And endometriosis, the same thing. It's a whole group of people. I mean, for me, I have a double whammy, but counseling. It's the best thing. I talk about it, and the thing about it, when I went to counseling too, I was fronting for like the first 6 weeks. I was in that mug, just like, yes, Stevie. I was not comfortable. I wasn't this. And then one day I just told her, like, yeah, I just feel like I'm just being fake in here. I just talk and go through the fluff. And she was like, well, do I need to find you another counselor? And I said, no, I need you to push me. I need you to ask those awkward and challenging questions because I'm not just going to tell you. And, when she, had to push, and that's like this, I don't want to assume, but it's like this Black woman complex we got, like expressing our emotions is a sign of weakness, you know? Excuse me. And that's where I am. So I had to mentally get myself ready. And it wasn't until, I still battle with some things, but it wasn't until probably a couple of years ago that I was actually in a safe place from doing all that. And you try to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. It's some of the people out there who are going through the same thing as you, and they give you some valuable resources. They know homeopathic measures and things to help you, and you don't even know it because you ashamed that somebody told you you're not a woman or you doing this. Girl, you better hush up and talk to somebody, speak up and speak out, because more people are going through this, and it's especially it's going on in our Black communities. So we need to speak up and see what we got to do about it, girl.
No, I thank you for that. I think um, women need to hear that. They need to have that understanding and that experience of somebody else is in this place too. Somebody else knows where I am and can identify with me, because we don't talk about it, so we don't know. What about being single? One of the things that I hear a lot about is over 30 and single. Am I ever going to be with somebody? Am I ever going to find somebody? At what, I didn't find him in my 20s. Does he exist in my 40s, kind of thing? What do you think it means for women, especially women with educations, to find a partner?
I might be a little different in my thinking on this, but I'll share you my personal beliefs. I think that my problem in life was that my education was my downfall in my relationship, because I only looked for guys who looked good on paper. But that's relative. I thought because I had 2 degrees that my man had to have a degree or two and he had to have this. And for some reason, we tend to think that a degree measures success. And I started off as an educator. We don't make the big bucks. So I could date someone who has a skilled trade, or it could be somebody who's a custodian. He was making more money than me. Things like that. But I only look for guys. I had to date the chemist. He was crap. I had to date the engineer. I think me and 7 other people was dating the same engineer. I had that, you know what I'm saying? That's what you are attracted to. Oh, you got this. You graduated from where? Okay. Oh, you work where? Oh, okay. You're gonna be in Japan for 2 weeks. Can I come with you? I was attracted to that. And because I thought that I had to, people put it in your head to work equally yoked, equally yoked. And so I took that or misinterpreted what that meant, and I figured that included education. But all I needed was somebody who had the mental capacity and the drive for us to, have an intellectual conversation, and for us to challenge each other, in different, spiritually, mentally, all those things. And that's what we're missing. So I think that if you're an educated, single Black woman, I'm not saying lower your standards, but sometimes we put stuff on our checklist that nobody could ever meet. You know what I'm saying? So you saying that an electrician doesn't have a degree, you can't date an electrician. A plumber doesn't have a degree, you can't date a plumber. You know what I'm saying? A contractor or a construction worker, a field manager, or a planner for a state, they might not have degrees. Are you saying that they can't, they're not worth your time? An entrepreneur, somebody who owns a business. Maybe the person, I was dating the guy who was flipping houses or just doing, he was good with his hands. That's all he did was flip houses and, take time. So he had no regular per se income, but he made good, money and income. So what are you looking for? Are you more concerned with someone is doing versus how they're treating you, how they make you feel, the time that they invest in you? And that was another thing. The guys, I feel like I was chasing the guys, not like I was trying to. The guy would give me the attention, and then I felt like I was chasing him per se. I think the guy who is investing the time and energy in you, the guy who always wants to be around you, originally that was a turnoff for me. But why am I'm chasing the guy, but the guy who want me to be around me, always coming around, those are the guys I was not paying attention to. The guy who called me just to check up on me. Hey, how you doing today? Hey, how you doing this? Those the guys I was not looking for. I would be like, why is he call? I just talked to him yesterday. You know what I'm saying? And I had to change that mentality about myself. And when I did, I mean, it was like I had I don't want to say a pool, but they were good quality, sound gentlemen in my life, but I was just ignoring it. So you can be, girl, you can find you somebody. I had made a pact with somebody. If I turn 30 and we ain't married, we just gonna marry each other. I was making pacts and stuff with people. Girl, you can find anybody. It's not out there. Mine I just found. My husband he's a great catch, but he didn't have it all together when I met him. When I met my husband, he was making $10 an hour. You know what I'm saying? People look like $10. Why? We couldn't afford, girl. We couldn't afford to think about brunch. We couldn't afford nothing. We'd be out there outside the games trying to scalp us, get some tickets from the scalpers to get into the games and stuff because, we just couldn't afford things at that time. But he had drive. You know what I'm saying? I knew he wanted more. He was always humping and looking for something new and to grow. And I was like, well, why don't you just go apply here and make this $20 job or make this and do this? And he was like, no, I got a plan. I'm gonna start here at the bottom in this company and I'm gonna maneuver our way because this is where I want to be. And I'm like, you sure you want to do that? I don't know if this is gonna work out. But I just believed with him and stuck by him and you that. And we got to stop emasculating our men too. And I think that's what it is. We don't lift up men. We don't lift them up. Tell them they're doing a good job. All men, well, most men like work affirmations. You know what I'm saying? If we dress up and look good and the man don't tell us we look good, oh, we mad. We big mad. But you don't think a dude want to hear that, oh, thank you, or, oh, you did a good job today. Or I saw you doing this, or, and they can be little things, they want to, we don't do that. We just tear them down. Oh, how long you gonna work for this $15 an hour job? Or how long you gonna do this?
Points, that empowerment piece, that being open piece in terms of, yes, you have a set number of criteria, but stop worrying about what a man is and start thinking about who that man is. How does he treat you? What
write a book. You speak so eloquently. Those are all words that would not come out of my mouth. Yes, that is it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do think you make a good point, and that's kind of the conversation that I tend to have with people as well when they're looking for a partner. Give me your criteria. Okay, let's rip that up. And now let's create something real. Let's start over, right? But I need to know how high you are setting the bar so that we can now make the bar more realistic and attainable, right? For who you are and what you're actually looking for. So in terms of how does a couple after marriage, like how do they keep their sex lives really healthy and really engaging? What would you say?
How do they keep their health life sexy and engaging? So number one, you gotta spice it up. You gotta continue to date each other and not date. I don't mean just go out in public. You can do something nice and intimate, at home. Different things. Your body's gonna change as you get older. No matter what you think and how strong you think you are or how much your body changes over time. So be able to adapt and change and be willing to say, I used to like that, but I don't feel as good no more. Or ask, how does that feel? Do you like this to your partner and your mate too? And continue to try different things. It might just be a different position, a different room in the house, a different accessory, or, it might be out of pocket, like watching something on TV, an adult educated film. Let's call it adult ed film, okay? It could be anything. You just gotta keep trying new things. You can't use it. You can't use your body as a weapon. Oh, he made me mad. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. But you do have to talk about things. It is hard to connect to somebody when you get older. You don't if you don't have a connection with somebody, sometimes your sex life can be off. You got to talk about those things. And if your connection is off, you got to communicate it so that y'all can be, get back in rhythm so y'all can be with each other. Okay. If you really love someone, or, you want to make your relationship hurt, you have to be happy. Number one, self-care. And you have to figure out what makes them happy. Okay, it is it's different, challenging, girl, challenging conversations to have.
Yeah, I agree. So you mentioned something that I want to ask you about. You mentioned intimacy. Do you find sex and intimacy to be different?
Absolutely, sex and intimacy are completely different. Um, I mean, it's at a point. Sometimes sex is just sex. I want to nut. Let me have some sex. That's that. But intimacy it's different. It can be a closeness. It can be a touch. It can be a rub on an ear, or just on an arm. It can be when you laying next to me and we just holding each other and spooning. It can be for me. I mean, I like my scalp massage. I know that sounds weird, but that's intimacy for me. You know what I'm saying? It could be a turn on. It could be how someone make you feel, or the moments, or just being thought of. The one night I remember I was just sitting here, me and my girls was just talking, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna set up a nice date night for me and Ralph. And I grabbed the mattress out the guest room and put it in the living room somewhere on the floor, and then hung up lights behind it. And we ended up we just gonna have dinner on the floor. That was the most intimacy we probably had in months. You know what I'm saying? That, of course, it leaded to some sex, but that wasn't the point. It was just we felt close to each other. And I play these little games. A chick gave us, they give you games that you do when you do premarital counseling. Use them same activities and games when you marry 10 years, 15 years later. Play them same games. Because trust and believe, the person you with now versus the person with you later, y'all change over time. People think we the same people. We not. We change. What we need, our needs change. And that's the thing. When you told me 10 years ago you like this, that was 10 years ago. It changed last week. Just keep constant communication. Things change, people change. You got to keep changing.
Very good. Well, I appreciate it. You've given, I think, the viewers a lot of information to consider and think about on a lot of different important topics. So I want to, as a parent, as an educator, what are the top 3 things that you think people need to teach their children about sex?
Ooh, girl. Top 3 things that people need to teach their children about sex. Ooh, girl. Why you gonna put me on the spot like this? Okay, the top 3 things that people need to teach their children about sex is: number one, just because you're teaching about sex, you need to teach about the safety of sex. Just because you're teaching, you don't want your child to engage in it, doesn't mean you don't want to teach them how to be safe doing it. You understand? Because if something happens, you want them to know how to be safe in this situation. Um, Teach them about their anatomy, their body, their makeup. Teach them about the opposite person's anatomy and makeup. So I would say, safe sex, your body's anatomy, each other, male and female body anatomy. And the other one would be, what is the intention or purpose of, sex? What is the goal by having sex? What is your goal? What is your end goal? Because too many people out there just having it, thinking it's increasing their self-worth, thinking it's increasing, their self-esteem, and it's not. You know, people out having sex all day, every day, and they still don't feel good about themselves. What is your purpose? What is the purpose of having sex? You know, what is the tool? It can be used to it can be used as a great thing, but it can also be used to destroy. It can also be used to, you know, kill. It can be used in a negative light. So that's what, like, be aware, you know, make your kids aware. I don't want my baby having sex right now. No, no, please, baby, don't have no sex. But I need to go teach her, you know, what it is and how to do this safely because I'm not always around. And I want to assume that my baby doing the right things. But if she put in the wrong situation or in a compromising situation, I just need her to take care of herself and be safe.
Which I think are three really good points. Teach your children the biological aspects and the health aspects that are related to the anatomy. Then teach them how to make choices about whether or not to have sex. Of course, give them your view. Here's what we choose. Here's how we do it from a moral standpoint. And here's how to make choices. And if you make choice A, here's what goes along with this. And if you make choice B, C, D, E, here's what goes along with this. So really teaching them to make these choices for themselves with the understanding that the family has a moral set of standards in which they go by. And then that last part of just being at this space to say, well, when you make these choices, why? What are you trying to gain and get out of the experience?
Girl, did you write a book? Are you taking notes on this? You can write a book on this.
Soon.
You got this, girl. Write this now. Hold on. Say that again so I can record it. Siri, can you record this? No.
But no, so I think that's good. So Ellyshia, we wrap up with a very important question that we ask all of our guests, and that is sex healthy?
Absolutely. It can be, absolutely. It burns some calories, boy, if you do it the right way. Number one, it is healthy. It makes you feel good. It's a release. And yes, it can be. If it's not healthy, you need to reevaluate, and figure out how it can be healthy. Because anything you're doing with your body should be healthy. And if it's not promoting health and all of that, you should not be doing it.
All right. Thank you, Ellyshia.
You're welcome.
Everyone, we want to thank you for watching Sex Ed for Adults. We want to thank our guest, Ellyshia Thompson, for joining us today and talking about everything from how we learn about sex to what does it look like in feminine health with sexual response, and what does it look like in a day-to-day life when you're battling things like endometriosis and PCOS, and then what does it look like dating and trying to find a partner, and how do we make choices about how do we talk to our children. So she's given us a lot of information. I really appreciate her being here today and giving us that
Thanks for having me.
And remember, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at JR Counseling. You can also look us up on the website, www.jessicalJross.com. Tons of things coming up. We have the Guiding Women to Find Their Sexuality and Growth. There's a diabetes and nutrition and counseling group that's coming up, Life After Trauma. And then we also have a self-care group that's at no cost. So a lot of things coming up and coming out. Make sure you go to the website and check us out. And remember, sex is healthy, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.